Hello and welcome to Traveling Desert Roads. I'm Joe, and welcome to Route 101, Marriage Counseling Route 101. In this episode of this tour, we're going to begin touring what I do for marriage counseling. One thing that I really like about this marriage counseling is that when I do marriage counseling, my marriage benefits. Even my relationships that are not husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, family, all that stuff, by studying what people want, what the Bible tells us to do, really helps increase the benefits of those relationships. Now, one thing that's really cool about marriage is, even if you're already married, as I stated, if you get into this and you really get into the Word and you really get into the stuff that we're going to discuss, you will enhance your relationship. If you are just looking at getting married and this is your pre-marriage counseling, this is going to benefit you in the areas of making sure that you have a plan. My teachers in college always said, if you failed to plan, then you plan to fail. Many people spend more time planning for the ceremony, which is a one-day thing, than they do for the marriage counseling, or the actual marriage, which is for life. So I'm hoping that through this, you will see that you will have a perfect plan for not just the ceremony, but also for life itself. When you look at the person that you're planning on marrying, for the rest of this tour, I'm going to be discussing as if this is a pre-marriage counseling. If you are already married, you can continue to do this, and you will find that your relationship will increase, even if it's just one of you that's trying. There are so many books on the market for marriages. Marriages are not easy. Before I was married, I knew marriages were not easy. I would tell the people that I counseled, marriages are not easy. After being married, starting my 7th year, I now say, whoa, marriage is not easy. The experience is much greater. Now, your question might be, why did you do marriage counseling prior to being married? Like, what do you have that you could possibly give? Well, there's a quote that states, advice is what you ask for when you already know the answer, but you wish you didn't. Many times, I think, when there's a disagreement, people need to know that there's some third-party person that is going to listen to both sides and give the advice and help the people work their problems out. Many times, we call these judges. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean that you have a bad relationship. It doesn't mean that you have to be enemies. This appears in today's society. For someone who doesn't agree, you can look on social media, Facebook, what have you. If somebody doesn't agree, all of a sudden you're losing friends. People are commenting on your posts saying, "I don't believe this. Stop posting this stuff." And then it escalates to where all of a sudden you're not friends anymore. Relationships can exist with disagreements. Good relationships can exist with disagreements. It's how we communicate those with others, what is going, the situations or what your beliefs are or whatever. Friends of mine don't agree with everything that I say, yet we are really good friends. I don't agree with everything that my friends say, yet we are still really good friends. So I want to encourage you that coming into this, I hear a lot of times in the first session that, we never argue. And I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Because many times I think when people don't argue, it's usually because somebody is not voicing their concerns. And that builds up to where they end up blowing up on something that seems so small. And everybody's looking around going, why is he or she all crazy because this chair wasn't pushed in properly or whatever? And that is a lot of communication, what we're going to talk about during this tour. One of the biggest things that we're going to discuss 3 things: communication, communication, and communication. I want you to feel very comfortable talking to your future spouse or your present spouse about anything. That if you guys disagree, you're still going to feel as if you've been heard, and that you will not be treated differently. Let me share a scripture with you about love. I call it the rubric for love. 1 Corinthians 13. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself. It is not puffed up. Does not behave rudely. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. Thinks no evil. Does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Bears all things. Believes all things. Hope all things. And endure all things. 13:8, the first sentence says, love never fails. If all relationships demonstrated everything in 1 Corinthians 4 through 8, you would have a wonderful relationship. The truth is, it appears many times, the person you love the most is the person who you hurt the most. In this tour, we're going to be opening up a lot of communication. Some suggested material to go along with these podcasts. I've been doing this for, I'm trying to think, it was probably, I'm trying to remember when I did the first wedding, probably 10, 12 years ago. And honestly, the reason why I started marriage counseling was when I first became a pastor, I didn't want to marry anybody. And the reason why I didn't want to marry anybody was because I felt that, and I still do, that the pastor is personally responsible for the relationship. Even if the 2 people that are involved, for as long as that relationship continues or doesn't continue. And honestly, I wasn't looking for more work. So when people asked me to marry him, I had heard a pastor that said that they do marriage counseling, and I go, oh, that's great. I'm going to have 6 months of marriage counseling. And that will keep people from wanting to use me to marry them. So anytime anybody asked, I would say, yes, I'll marry you, but I do 6 months of marriage counseling. And just like I wanted, everyone said the same thing. Oh, never mind. We'll go somewhere else. And it wasn't until a young couple came, and some friends of mine, or friends of friends, I should say, that became friends. But they said, we want you to marry us. And I said, now I do 6 months of counseling. And I said, there's an introductory, and then we do 6 months. So technically it's 7, I guess. And they said, okay. And they called my bluff, basically. So I prayed about what to do in the counseling. And I came to answers. and created the 6 months. So the first meeting, I told him it's only going to be about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30. And it ended up being, I think it was like 3 hours. 3 hours. And they said, this was great. Can we do it every week? And I'm like, no, we can't. My goal for you in this. Oh, let me continue first. So, years later, when I start to get married, actually, I guess I've been doing it for 15. Wow, time flies. But I wanted to do marriage counseling before I got married. So we went to a conference, and I'm not endorsed by anybody in these videos. This is just me sharing stuff that I've read, and I will give credit to where credit's due every time. But we went to a Dr. Gary Chapman seminar, and he wrote the 5 love languages, which is many of you might have heard. So we went through that. Well, he suggested during his seminar to buy one of his books, Things I Wish I Knew Before I Was Married. Things I Wish I Knew Before I Was Married is a great resource. In fact, this book ended up being so close to what I already did that now my wife and I purchase 2 books. One for him, one for her, when I do counseling. And the reason is because I don't want someone to say, well, I was going to read, but she was reading it, or he was reading it. They're like $9 on Amazon. Free shipping and handling if you're a Prime member. But we buy these books and we ship when we give them to them. And they're very, what I call guy-friendly chapters, because I think they're very short. But the communication that begins by reading the chapter and what we will talk about through this tour will help your marriage. I can tell you areas that we skipped in the book are areas that I've had disagreements with my spouse. So I encourage you to do that. Now, this tour is not going to try to talk you out of marriage. It's not going to try to talk you into marriage. Just like I explain to the people who ask me to marry them. I am not going to judge the relationship, because only people that know the relationship are the two. Well, there's 3 people. God, of course, knows, and the 2 people who want to get married. I use the story when I explain this to my students, that I believe that any relationship can work. I believe that if I go out and grab a perfect stranger and I say, hey, here's $5, find me a wife. I want a wife by the end of the night, someone that will marry me. And they come back and I give $1 million to my best friend and say, hey, I want a wife. Go find me a wife. Well, the person with the $5 who doesn't know me is going to spend less time looking. The person who's my best friend and has $1 million is going to look a lot longer and knows me. I think both relationships can work and can be a successful relationship. Now, the degree of how much work and effort has to go in to make that successful is going to change. And what we're going to be doing here is talking about the communication skills and help you find a partner who will best, work best to make sure that your relationship is strong and that you will be able to further God's kingdom through your marriage. As I said, not going to talk you into marriage. I'm not going to talk you out of marriage. But I want to see you have the tools to succeed. One of those tools is Things I Wish I Knew Before I Was Married by Dr. Gary Chapman. We're going to use this as a reference tool throughout this tour, as well as some other resources and the marriage counseling that I did prior to learning about this book 7 years ago. So, welcome to this tour. I hope that you enjoy the travel, and I hope you learn a lot. May God bless your relationship, and we'll see you again later in this tour.